fun, family-friendly, and free event is bringing all sorts of your favorite characters to town.
This is News Channel 3, 6 o'clock.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Sarah Sager.
And I'm Susan Nicholas. Thanks so much for joining us today. We begin tonight with a severe weather alert. High wind and rain sweeping through parts of our region, and it began early today.
So we want to start off with a check of the forecast from Chief Meteorologist Tony Cavalier. Tony, so many are wondering, is the worst part of this over, or are we really just getting ramped up here?
Well, ladies, you should definitely go ahead with your plans here this evening because non-severe showers and just a few mild breezes are expected. But right before dawn, while we're sleeping, we could have another round of strong winds come in with a squall line. Let's set you up with the latest from the National Weather Service. Area in Kelly Green under a flash flood watch. Area in Lime Green, Athens and Vinton County leftover high water. Roads closed in spots. Sheriff's Department's 911 suggested folks are getting along fine, so this is a nuisance leftover aerial flood warning in those two counties of Ohio. Here this evening, non-severe showers and cool. The showers ebb mid-evening. And look at this. As the showers ebb and the stars break through the clouds, will rise to 60 by midnight. And then from 4 to 8 in the morning, there won't be 4 hours of storms, but you'll have a gusty squall passing from west to east, armed with strong winds, heavy rain, and a brief lightning strike. Temperatures will be near 60 all night long. And then tomorrow, as the clouds break and the sun comes out, it will be windy all day long. Very windy, in fact, reminiscent of what we went through just a few weeks ago. A 6 to 10 hour period of strong winds expected as the sun comes up. Doppler radar, more bark than bite, but there are some rains out there along I-64 out of Charleston and heading into Putnam and Cabell County. Northern Kentucky, a couple forceful downpours are moving in. However, the ground has been able to handle the rain we've had so far. No reason to think there'll be anything in the way of widespread flooding, maybe some nuisance street flooding. And then we'll watch the squall line in Arkansas, denoted by that red curly Q moving through the natural state. That will be in here as we get to the pre-dawn hours tomorrow, and that's when we can ramp up the opportunity for some local problems. We'll track the downpours with FutureCast, we'll update the flood watch on the fly, and even after that squall line passes first thing tomorrow morning as we sleep, ladies, tomorrow will be windswept all day long, and that's why I've got a special power out map to share with you when I come back on News Channel 3 at 6.
Thank you, Tony. Yeah. Severe weather obviously leaving a mark this morning in our area, especially the Shoals area of Wayne County, and that's right along Route 75 near Lavalette.
Yes, strong winds brought down a large number of trees and caused damage to homes. News Channel 3's Andrew Colgrove joins us now with a look at the damage.
It is just tree after tree. Neighbors say they heard some really loud wind. It woke them up around 5 o'clock this morning. They came outside and say they were just stunned by what they saw.
I was in bed, heard the winds pick up, and I thought this was a little more than normal.
It was a loud noise, really quick, so we got up, and about 10-15 seconds later, it just felt like it was a train, like a subway station train just coming at the house.
It was pretty much isolated here.
This is actually a cedar tree that was planted by my grandfather when he built this house back in the 60s. It's not going to be with us much longer.
To go through something like this and everyone be okay, it was, you know, that's what it's, at the end of the day, everything else can be replaced.
Some of the neighbors I talked with were wondering if maybe it was a tornado that touched down here. A worker with the National Weather Service came and checked this out. He said all the damage was blown to the east with no signs of rotation. So they think, no, this was not a tornado, but they say, yes, this was impressive nonetheless. Back to you.
And a lot of cleanup this weekend. Well, Tony says that weather event was likely what's known as a wet microburst.
Some students in Lincoln County had an early start to spring break after administrators at Hamlin pre-K through 8 discovered part of the roof had been blown off by those early morning storms and wind. News Channel 3's Kimberly Donahue got a walkthrough of the damage and learned why the district acted so quickly.
Not the start to spring break some Lincoln County students expected.
There was a really bad windstorm that came through Lincoln County and Hamlin pre-K through 8 over on the middle school side. That windstorm took part of their roof off.
There's a roof vent right there, big old 2-foot by 2-foot roof vent.
The damage, enough to send students home before classes started on Friday. The district is now working on a school contingency plan.
Things might change from Monday to Friday. Things might change from Monday to Tuesday. So we'll just have to play it by ear, see how long the roofing company thinks that the repairs are going to take. Based off what they're able to tell us, we'll make a plan, whether it's remote or if students have to visit another school.
District maintenance officials told me they never really had a major problem with the roof on Hamlin, but when they saw the damage this morning, they knew preventative measures had to be taken in order to keep students safe. Thankfully, next week is spring break for us, so we have the full week to kind of assess and get the damage fixed and make plans moving forward. So we're very thankful that next week is spring break. Kimberly Donahue, WSAZ, News Channel 3, Lincoln County.
Now, the district says as the roofing company and contractors continue their repairs, they'll update parents through calls, texts, their website, as well as social media channels on the next steps to be taken. Hamlin's not the only school which had to cancel class, though. Duval pre-K through 8 closed due to a power outage in part of the building. Thankfully, though, no injuries reported. Now to an update on a WSAZ investigation tonight. An apology coming from the new head of West Virginia State Police in a letter issued today. In it, Interim Superintendent Jack Chambers apologizes to any female who was victimized by a hidden camera system in the State Police Training Academy. The camera system, just one in a series of serious allegations against high-ranking members of the state police last month. Chambers' apology says state police are working to develop a timeline and identify all potential victims of the crime. Those victims, he says, will be offered counseling and therapy service. His letter, a change in position from his predecessor, who says information he received indicates only one woman was captured on the video, and she asked for the case not to be pursued.
Well, a Boyd County, Kentucky woman has been arrested for the death of her 2-year-old. Brittany Capadonna is charged with first-degree manslaughter after troopers say her 2-month-old child died of a fentanyl overdose back in February. News Channel 3's Joseph Payton spoke with state police and has the latest on this story.
More than a month after the death of a 2-year-old child, the mother is behind bars facing several charges. On February 14th, Kentucky State Police troopers were called to a residence just south of Ashland, where the child was found unresponsive.
They come to find out that the juvenile had already been removed and transported to King's Daughters Medical Center to receive treatment. Shortly after the child arrived at King's Daughters, that it had actually passed away.
KSP Trooper Shane Goodall says that the investigation revealed that the child had ingested fentanyl, and the cause of death was deemed an overdose. Earlier this week, the child's mother, Brittany Capadonna, was indicted by a Boyd County grand jury and taken into custody on Thursday.
The child is just 2 years old. Its immune system is extremely down, and I couldn't imagine the effects that a little bit of fentanyl would have on an adult, a little less a child that young.
Capadonna is charged with manslaughter, wanton endangerment, and possession of a controlled substance, all charges of the first degree. Trooper Goodall says she remains the only person charged with the crime, but the investigation is still open.
There was multiple interviews conducted of people at the residence, and I'm not sure how many charges, if any, will be brought against anyone else, but that'll be to see what Detective Lawson ends up turning up with.
Joseph Payton, WSAZ News Channel 3, Boyd County.
State police, assisted by several agencies in the case, the Cannonsburg Fire Department, Boyd County Sheriff's Office, Boyd County EMS, and the County Coroner's Office all contributed.
A family cleaning up tonight after their house caught on fire this morning. It happened just after 8 o'clock in the 1900 block of Hubbard Road in Charleston. Firefighters say smoke was coming out of the house when they got there. The people who live there did make it out okay. The cause not known right now.
Coming up, cookie lovers, the wait is almost over. The shipment has arrived.
And remembering those who gave it their all. The legacy of these American heroes lives on.
You thought you had your day all planned out, and then wham, the sunshine. And
wait, almost over now.
Yummy, and those cookies should be coming your way very soon. Family members were at the Girl Scouts of Black Diamond to pick up boxes of those cookies earlier today. In fact, more than 120,000 boxes were sold, which is 9% more than last year.
The girls are out there hustling this year. It's been a tough year. They've had to deal with supply chain issues and lots of changes, but they're still out there selling Girl Scout cookies to make their dreams come true.
Now, if a Girl Scout didn't visit your home or your workplace, go to the Girl Scouts website and use their Cookie Finder tool, and from there you will be able to see where and when a booth will be set up in your area so you can still get some. Well, coming up, cracking down on that potentially really poses a threat.
Yeah, we're going to explain how law enforcement is working to keep your neighborhood safe.
Staying on budget starts with having control over your money. Meet the NetSpend prepaid Visa card. There's no
mission can be found on the state's sex offender registry, but the database is only as good as information that it handles. So News Channel 3's Curtis Johnson tells us about a recent crackdown to make sure that it's up to date.
Federal marshals and state police working together to keep your neighborhood safe, announcing the results of a 2-week operation targeting convicted sex offenders in Kanawha County and the surrounding area. U.S. Marshal Michael Bayless called the effort Operation Just and Necessary.
We did do the 228 checks and actually put eyes on these folks and check their information.
Those targeted no longer in prison, but required to keep certain information up to date on the state's sex offender registry. The operation leading to 21 arrests and warrants for 5 others. State Police Sergeant Joey Robinson telling me compliance checks are a year-round job. He keeps tabs on approximately 1,000 sex offenders in Kanawha County, checking addresses, vehicles, and computer screen names.
That is required by law to register at least once a year unless something changes, an address changes, a vehicle changes, or phone number or internet or something like that changes. They have 10 days to come into our office and do an update.
Bayless and Robinson explaining why the sex offender registry and its enforcement are so important.
So what does it mean for the safety of their community, for the safety of their children, for the safety of their neighborhoods?
Well, it does help families to be safer knowing who their neighbors are and to know if there's a sex offender that lives within their neighborhood.
If you got a family that knows there's a sex offender that's living in your area, maybe you can keep a better eye on your kids, keep them away from wherever. And not saying that they would do something, but there's always that chance.
Both men praised the joint operation, saying it should send a clear message.
Anyone that's out there that's a sex offender, you better get your information right because we're going to be coming out to other counties as well.
Curtis Johnson, WSAZ News Channel 3, Charleston.
And law enforcement officials confiscated a gun, fentanyl, meth, just some of the things seized during the operation. And we have a list of the arrest and charges at WSAZ.com. You will also find a link to the West Virginia Sex Offender Registry.
Well, Greenup County paying tribute to veterans who gave their all to protect and serve our country. A ceremony held today at the Wortland Volunteer Fire Department to honor the 2 Medal of Honor recipients, John Collier and Ernie West. Both served in the Army and fought in the Korean War. Both have since passed away, but their legacies live on. Veteran and retired state policeman Anthony Birch was the guest speaker.
Marshall University's annual Pop Culture Convention kicked off today with a special visit from Justin and Dr. Sydney McElroy from the podcast Sawbones. The live event was held in the Memorial Student Center. Both Justin and Sydney grew up in Huntington, both attended Marshall. The podcast started all the way back in 2013, and since then they have used their success to actively raise funds, support community organizations, things like Harmony House, the Huntington Children's Museum, and the local theater group Heart in the Park.
Okay, 6:18. The severe weather alert will renew as we get to the pre-dawn hours tomorrow. Before then, it's a relatively tranquil evening with a couple of showers. We start with our Point Pleasant Weather Cam sponsored by West Virginia Lottery. And I've surveyed the latest hydrographs from the National Weather Service, whether it be the Belleville, the Racine, the Bird, the Greenup, or the Meldal Pool, which takes us from Parkersburg to Huntington down toward Portsmouth. And basically, the river rises heading into the weekend courtesy of the rains, but comes up 5 to 10 feet short of flood stage, depending on your port of call. Here at the top of the hour, still an area Southern Ohio, Northern Kentucky, Central West Virginia under a flood watch from the National Weather Service. New rains first thing in the morning. We're talking pre-dawn, could produce some local new high water. But right now, emphasis in Athens and Vinton County is from leftover high water, with some roads still closed and streams still near bank level. National Weather Service has a precautionary flood warning in those counties till 8 o'clock this evening. Here this evening, light rain showers in the 50s. There'll be a long lull after 9 o'clock till 3 in the morning. The stars will break out, temperature rises to 60. Then from 4 to 8 o'clock, it won't storm for 4 hours, but your neighborhood's apt to get an hour or so of rain with a forceful wind coming through with fervor. We'll start near 60 tomorrow morning. Quickly, the atmosphere dries out. Partly cloudy midday into the afternoon. We'll jump into the 70s. The problem is when the sun comes out, the winds up at 5,000 feet are going to be blowing at 60 and 70 miles an hour. And we'll be able to suck those winds down to the ground. Frequent gusts tomorrow will challenge the power grid across our area. How gusty? This is a Saturday wind gust map that I'm forecasting. 30-mile-an-hour gusts 10 o'clock, 40 by lunchtime through 5 o'clock, 50 miles an hour in spots. And even through 9 o'clock as the sun goes down, the winds are still gusty before they subside heading into Sunday morning. Top of the hour temperatures are near 60 degrees, and now the south wind is about to win out, and that means rising temperatures will be in the offing here during the nighttime hours. So the showers of this afternoon and this evening persist up I-79 out of Charleston heading toward Sutton, toward Jane Lew. Some showers on I-64 coming from Kanawha, Putnam into Cabell County, crossing into northern Kentucky. And those rains go all the way back to the horse country in central Kentucky. Of course, we're about a month away from the Kentucky Derby. We're keeping a close eye on these to just keep it nasty, as in rainy for a few hours. But the opportunity for new high water would come when the squall line arrives. And that'll be coming in between 4 and 8 in the morning, depending on where you live. And that's what we're going to track on our futurecast, because by mid-evening, the rains are gone. There'll be a 4 or 5 hour period of quiet weather. Then by 4 in the morning, Athens, Portsmouth, Huntington down toward Paintsville. Here comes that squall line that's in Arkansas right now. It's racing at 60 miles an hour, so the opportunity for a brief wind gust to 60 as it passes has to be respected. It moves off into the mountains as the sun comes up, and the atmosphere then dries out, and the sun is out much of the day tomorrow, along with those strong winds. Pick day of the weekend, well, let's call it Sunday. It's cooler, but it's bright skies and lighter winds at that time. I do expect widespread power outs to our west, and when we get 50-mile-an-hour gusts, you got to figure we're going to have some challenges to the power grid late tonight and tomorrow across our area. Short-term forecast, the showers this evening will lull mid and late evening. Overnight, a rush of wind, rain, and thunder will come through, well by dawn at 60. A windswept day on Saturday, partly cloudy, just a scattered daytime shower at 75. The atmosphere dries out, it cools down, and skies brighten on Sunday. High temperature then, ladies, at 62 degrees.
Okay. Sounds like we need to keep the flashlights ready.
We do.
Keep them nearby.
Give me some candles.
Yeah. All right, thanks. Coming up, the final awards were given out today in West Virginia high school basketball.
And many familiar names made the all-state team in Class 4A.
Time is running out to pay your 2022 taxes. Pay online now or visit the tax division lobby through. Now here's Jimmy Tracy.
We can now officially call it a wrap on West Virginia high school basketball with the final postseason awards handed out Friday. And there were no real shockers in the first team, Class 4A boys. Here are the local players on that one. George Washington's Ben Nickel, Mikey Johnson of Huntington High, and there's a pair of Parkersburg South Patriots there as well, Nate Plotner and Cyrus Traw. On the second team, Brendan Hoffman of GW is the captain. He's joined by Dwayne Harris of Huntington, and Cabell Midland's Dominic Schmidt. The girls were also honored on this Friday. A couple of locals made the first team. Cabell Midland's Jada Alley and Spring Valley's Hallie Bailey there. On the second team, you'll find GW's Finley Lohan. St. Albans, J.C. Elzy from St. Albans again, and Patriots, Zanaya Zealous. You can see the full list of all the players on the first and second teams, along with honorable mentions on our WSAZ app and our website. So high school basketball, we'll see you in 8 months. Not the thing for a college hoops, though, as it's not over just yet, and thank goodness, as night one of the Sweet 16 was super, to say the least. Let's start with the late game, as Gonzaga came back from double digits and got the win on this long three-pointer from the logo. Bonkers. Then there's Florida Atlantic, who had Madison Square Garden in a tizzy as they outscored Tennessee 40-28 in the second half, and they are now in the Elite Eight. The first game of the night from MSG. This basket sent Michigan State and Kansas State to overtime as the Wildcats, well, they're now moving on. Thanks to this incredible alley-oop, guard Marquise Noel set an NCAA tournament record for assists last night with 19 of them. So, how's the other half of the Sweet 16 looking? Games tipping off in just about 4 minutes. First one, very intriguing. San Diego State against Alabama, then Miami versus Houston. Princeton taking on Creighton, and the late game of the night, Xavier against Texas. Pretty much a given to hear Ohio State players picked in every NFL draft, but they sought to show off their skills beforehand. The Buckeyes had their pro day this week, primarily quarterback C.J. Stroud, who is expected to go early in the draft. Here he is talking about how he thought he did in front of the scouts.
It's been great. Of course, you got to find beauty in the struggle. It's not always easy to have everybody in your business all the time, but at the end of the day, it's a blessing just because I've been dreaming about doing this my whole life. So I'm really, really blessed to be where I'm at. And I'm going to try to do really well in these private workouts and these interviews that I have coming up to the draft. But, I mean, I think what's special about this is that I can control what I can control on the field, and everybody, I don't got to make the decision right now. So it's not like me coming to Ohio State. Decision not on me, so I get to just chill and do what I love to do.
NFL draft less than 5 weeks away. This year it's in St. Louis because remember, they're kind of going around the country seeing, having these NFL teams show what their stuff, and should be fun around the arch, I'm sure.
Yeah, a lot to watch and keep track of.
Yep.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Go ahead with your plans this evening because the radar just has some good rains on radar, nothing heavy, just enough to make it a little nuisance outside. But the squall line in Arkansas, that time's in here 4 till 8 tomorrow morning. Quiet this evening, and watch out. We could be awakened again tomorrow morning by some rowdy squalls.
Looks like it. All right, Tony, thanks a lot.
Have a great night.